Now, if you look at the name of the title I gave to this presentation, it seems like contradiction. Virtuous violence. Violence is bad, violence is negative, and virtuous, of course, is positive. It's values. What is the idea behind this virtual violence? And the subtitle is, how does the Palestinian Authority turns good people into terrorists? And it's not just terrorists, it's terrorist supporters. You'll see the polls I'll show you later. Across the board, there's almost universal support for terrorism. Now, in societies, there's always a fringe, and some fringe are criminals, some fringe could be terrorist supporters. In the Palestinian Authority, it's universal, as you'll see. The question is, how did we get there? How did we get to a situation where the entire Palestinian society supports the violence against Israel? And the answer is by turning violence virtuous. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, the name virtuous violence, I didn't make this up. There's a book by this name. Okay. There's a book by this name, as you see here. This is the cover to the book by Fisk and Ray. And one of the things that they write in the book is the following. When people hurt or kill someone, they do so because they feel that it's morally right or even obligatory. Most violence is morally motivated. Now, this is fascinating. We think of violence as something evil, something terrible, but we don't know what's going on in the mind of the person. And what they're saying here is that people who go and do violence, they've either convinced themselves or they've been brainwashed and have been convinced that the violence that they're doing is actually morally motivated. It's the right thing to do. It's the ethical thing to do. And that's what I want to show you today. How did the Palestinian Authority do this? How did they turn their people to believe that violence against Israel, killing civilians, killing children, all of this is virtuous and morally okay? Now, I'm going to start with Palestinian anti-Semitism, and this is so important because you're going to see how this is really the foundation of their entire ideology. And why is this so important? The European community, even the United States, they believe that the conflict is about territory. As you'll see in a moment, the Palestinians build the entire ideology around the people, around Jews, around anti-Semitism, and even their anti-Zionism is derived from their anti-Semitism and their justification of violence and etc. Their virtuous violence. It all stems from this original root of anti-Semitism. Now, how do they do this? They define the Jewish problem in the world, and they do it by defining the Jew as the problem. The problem isn't that Jews are hated. The problem is that Jews bring hatred on themselves because they endanger all humanity. And I want to show you this, and everything is going to be shown in their own words, how they say it. And I'm going to start here. First one is going to be Mahmoud Abbas himself, head of the Palestinian Authority. He's describing why Europe, in this talk here, he's talking about why Europe and even why Hitler and the Nazis fought the Jews. Listen to what he says.
قالوا إن هتلر قتل اليهود لأنهم يهود، أن أوروبا تكره اليهود لأنهم يهود. لا، يحارب هؤلاء الناس بسبب وظيفتهم الاجتماعية. حتى هتلر يعني حارب اليهود لأنهم كانوا يعملون على أساس.
Okay, they caused ruin. In his opinion, Hitler was fighting in self-defense. Hitler thought they were destroying Germany. The Europeans thought they were destroying their cultures. Everybody was fighting against the Jews as self-defense. The Jews are responsible for anti-Semitism. That's the message here from Mahmoud Abbas. We've heard it many, many times. Here is a former deputy minister in the Palestinian Authority on television, and this is just a couple of months ago. And what does he say? The conflict is being waged with this enemy, which is Israel. This is the enemy of humanity, not just the Palestinian people. This is the key. The Jewish people endanger all humanity. And I want to show you another example of this. Now, everything I'm showing you today is going to be Fatah and the Palestinian Authority. I'm not showing you Hamas. I'm showing you what created Hamas, that the Palestinian Authority, with its ideology and its education, it created the power of Hamas. But I want to read to you also from the official newspaper of the Palestinian Authority. This was a whole article in the official newspaper talking about all the terrible things that Jews have done in the world. And this is what they wrote here. Their behavior is filled with barbarism and thirst for blood. They call for superiority and arrogance. They concerned with money, power, arrogance, impunity. From all the corners of the globe, I see and understand the harm they have caused people everywhere on earth, he's saying. The Jews have caused harm. And this is so important. The characteristics they have inherited. Jewish evil behavior is not something we've learned. It's something we've inherited. It's in our genes. This is their message. Characteristics they've inherited that the world fears and worries about. In the West, East, North, and South, the entire world worries and fears the Jews because of the way they are. They want to subjugate the entire world. Here we're seeing it again. This is the official newspaper, and it's a message that keeps over and over and over again. So this is the first message. The world suffers from the Jews. Anti-Semitism is the Jews' responsibility. People are just defending themselves from the Jews. Now, from here, we go to Palestinians. In general, the world suffers. Palestinians suffer even more from the Jews. And this is based on the most incredible lies and libels that they tell their people. I'll give you a few examples of this just to give you a sense. This is the spokesman for Fatah in Jenin, and he was speaking on official Palestinian Authority television. And look what he said about Golda Meir.
وأنا أريد أن أذكر بمقولة للمجحومة جولدا مائير، إحدى مقولاتها التسعة الشهيرة، وإحداها يعني أتمنى أن أصحو يوما ولا أجد طفلا في
I'll wake up one day, no Palestinian child will be alive. Now, of course, this is a total lie. Golda Meir was the first and only so far woman prime minister of Israel. She was from the Labour Party. She was interested in peace, but they put this into her head. And again, think of what I'm talking about here, the virtuous violence. Well, if the prime minister is telling their people that she wants to wake up and see not one Palestinian child alive, that creates anger, that creates fear, that creates a desire to fight against those people that are saying these terrible things. Now, I'll give you some other examples that are just incredible. Right now, there is a major crisis in Gaza of rats and mice. And why is this? Since the ceasefire, Israel has allowed into Gaza as many trucks of aid and food as the so-called humanitarian organizations and the UN wants to bring in. By weight, they have brought in 4 times the amount of food that people normally eat based on the number of people that are there. 4 times the amount of food. So what's happening? The storehouses are filled with food. And when you have rats and you have mice and you have storehouses filled with food, the rats and the mice are going to proliferate. They're going to get big and they're going to be strong. So right now there's a major crisis of rats and mice all through the Gaza Strip. Now, what does the Palestinian Authority do? Instead of saying we have a problem, we have to stop bringing in food. Look what they do. They say Israel has engineered mice to attack Palestinians. Now listen to this. This is on official Palestinian TV.
كل المؤشرات تدل أن هناك نوع من القوارض أو بمعنى أدق من الجرذان والفئران. هذه القوارض أو الفئران والجرذان من نوع خاص وهي كبيرة الحجم تهاجم الأطفال خصوصا والمرضى. ويعتقد أن هذه القوارض يعني تم تطويرها و
They were developed and experimented upon specifically by the Israeli occupation. Israel genetically engineered these rats. This was one time we've heard this story. Now, once they started this libel, they've been repeating it over and over again. And I want to show you one. This was just literally a month ago. We had another one, by the way, a few days ago, but this one is just incredible. Listen to what this guy says. This is the Palestinian television director in Gaza, and he says as follows. These rodents are genetically engineered so that they would attack the weak. They're the size of a cat, meaning they attack children and elderly and particularly diabetics. Could you imagine? These rats know which people are diabetics, they're telling. A woman who did not feel that a large rat ate at her toes of her feet, she didn't feel it. but was shocked to discover that she had lost part of her leg. And I'm almost sure this is part of occupation Israel's war against the Gaza Strip. Again, the stories are just unbelievable. But when Palestinians hear these over and over and over again, they see people suffering and they see the rats and they see that they're larger than usual because they have so much food. They say, oh, Israel genetically engineered these rats and introduced them to do these terrible things to Palestinians. Now, just to show you how current it is and how this is something from June 1st, just a couple of days ago. And this was one of the Fatah spokesmen. They have a number of different spokesmen. And look what he said. There's a book called Al-Tanakh. Tanakh is the Hebrew word for the Bible. So he says there's a book called the Tanakh, the Bible. It's a book composed by Israeli rabbis, and it's based on the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses. It's based on the Torah, and its central message is killing Arabs, killing Palestinians. A good Arab is a dead Arab. Again, this is, of course, again, it's a totally made up idea. There's no such thing. There's no such thing called Al-Tanakh created by the rabbis. But this is the constant messaging. And I'll point out 2 different things here. Before they talked about the fact that it's in our genes, it can't be changed. And now they're talking about, in addition to being in our genes, it's part of our traditions. The rabbis have created books that teach us so that it's a religious message. And for them, it's very important that it's a religious message because they were very religious people. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So these are the messages that they give their people about the Jews. These Jews are dangerous for the world, and they're particularly dangerous for Palestinians. Now, because of this gets to the most important part of Palestinian ideology, and this is what I was saying to you, why this anti-Semitism, this presenting of Jews as the source of evil in the world, because it is through this message that they explain the existence of the state of Israel. They teach their people that the Jews never had a history in the land of Israel. I could show you 100 examples from probably just the last year. It's a constant message on TV by the educators in the schools. There never was a Jewish people. There never was a Jewish kingdom. There never was a temple. They don't say the word temple without adding an Arabic word, maz'um. Maz'um means supposed or fictitious. They never say the word temple. It's a fictitious temple. It never existed. So this is their ideology. So they have to explain why did the Jews, who have no history in the land, they say, why did they come? So the answer, they say, is because the Jews are this terrible force in the world, the Europeans created Zionism, and they convinced the Jews that they have a history here, so that the Jews would come here, and it was all for the purpose of getting rid of the Jews. I want to show you this also in their own words. This was just on TV about 2 months ago. One of the director of the Ministry of Religious Affairs, Department of Preaching. So get it, he's teaching other preachers the lessons of what to preach in the sermons, and listen to what he explained on TV.
الأولى والأحرى بمن جاء غريب على هذه الأرض حين طردوا من أكثر من 112 دولة لم يتحملهم الغرب من ما كانوا يمارسون من الفساد، من الإجرام المالي والربا ومص دماء الشعوب هناك.
صحيح.
لم يتحملهم، طردوهم من بلادهم وابتلينا بهم نحن.
They sucked the blood of the nations where they were because of all their crimes. They could not tolerate them, and they expelled them from their lands, and now we're suffering. This is the idea. They created Israel and Zionism in order to get rid of the Jews, and I want to show you from the top. Here's Mahmoud Abbas saying the identical thing.
إن بريطانيا والولايات المتحدة قررتا إقامة وزرع كيان آخر في وطننا التاريخي، وذلك لأهداف استعمارية. والحقيقة أن هذه الدول الغربية كانت تريد أن تتخلص من اليهود وأن تستفيد منهم في فلسطين، تضرب عصفورين بحجر.
They wanted to get rid of the Jews, and they also wanted to have a colonial implant so that they could control and profit from the resources of the Middle East. 2 birds with 1 stone. This is Mahmoud Abbas. The Europeans wanted to get rid of the Jews. Now, this last one is just the last one. There are, again, hundreds of examples of this, but this one is particularly striking. This was right after October 7th. It was a few weeks after this, October 24th, 2023. Everybody's thinking about the terrible massacre, and many world leaders are visiting Israel, leaders who hadn't come in many years. And they're all coming to visit and express sympathy with Israel because of this horrific massacre that Israel never experienced, and literally the Jews didn't experience since the Holocaust a day like that. So all these world leaders are coming. The Palestinians have to explain to the people, why are they all coming? Listen to this message on official Palestinian TV.
وإنما هم يعني كأوروبا وأمريكا استطاعوا التخلص من اليهود الذين هم أنفسهم يعتبرونهم نفايات بشرية، وألقوا بهم في فلسطين. يعني أوجدوا لهم مكان بعيدا عنهم، بعيدا عن أوروبا. لا يريدون الآن هجرة معاكسة
Okay. They succeeded in getting rid of the human waste. They sent them far away from Europe, and they don't want reverse migration. What are they saying? The Arabs attacked, Hamas attacked, terrible things happened in Israel. They're afraid the Israelis are going to be fearful and they're going to run back to Europe. And the Europeans don't want the Jews to leave. So they're coming and expressing sympathy, not because they care about the Jews. No one cares about the Jews. They're coming to express sympathy and say, don't worry, we're with you, so that the Jews won't come back to Europe, because they succeeded in getting rid of the human waste. This is, so you see the depth of this ideology in the Palestinian Authority. And this is why I say their anti-Semitism is directly a result of and related to their anti-Zionism is directly built on their anti-Semitism. Israel is this foreign colonial implant with no right to exist because we're foreigners. And why do we exist? Only because we are evil and everybody wants to get rid of them. Their anti-Zionism is dependent and built on their anti-Semitism. Now, to make this even worse, the Palestinian Authority, which is a religious society, very religious, the religious leaders come with the identical messages. Now, I want to show you just one example of this because it's coming from the top religious figure in the PA. His name is Mahmoud al-Abbas. He's the advisor to Mahmoud Abbas. And comes and he tells them about the Jews, and listen to the two different messages he gives. This is two different sermons.
كثير من أهل الكتاب خرجوا عن هذه الإنسانية واتبعوا الأبلسة، اتبعوا الشيطنة. لا يشترط في الشيطان أن يكون جنيا خفيا، يمكن أن يكون على صورتك.
I'll stop it for a second. Satan doesn't have to be in the form of a demon. He can be in your form, but the Jew, he is Satan. Jewish people in the world are Satan. That's what he's saying. Now, why is this so important? This is the top religious figure. He's Mahmoud Abbas's advisor on Islam. He's head of the Sharia courts, head of the Islamic courts in the Palestinian Authority. And he's coming and saying, the Jew is Satan in human form. Satan in Islam is the force in the world that brings all the evil to the world. So you see how this fits in directly with their political anti-Semitism. Their political anti-Semitism said the Jews were hated by all humanity and they wanted to therefore send them to Palestine. Here comes the religious leader and explains why are they hated by everyone? Because they're actually Satan, and Satan brings all the evil to the world. So it all fits together. You've got this political ideology, and then you've got the religious people, the religious leaders saying, listen, this is not just a regular human problem. This is Satan in the form of a human being. That's what he says. Satan doesn't have to be in the form of demon. He can be in your form, but the Jew, he is Satan. This is coming. And then he continues in a different sermon. Listen.
كثير من أهل الكتاب إنه شيطان طعان سائمة من أشباه البشر، من أناس أو مخلوقات خلقها الله على هيئة البشر، من لعنه الله وغضب عليه.
Okay, Jews are humanoids, people that Allah created in the form of human, but we're not humanoids. We're cursed. We're actually apes and pigs. Every time he has a different demonization. What they're telling their people is if you even kill a Jew, you're not even killing a human being. You're killing Satan. You're killing an ape. You're killing a pig. This is what Jews are. This is the top religious figure in the Palestinian Authority. Now, what you're seeing here through all of these examples, and like I'm telling you, maybe I've showed you 10 examples. I could have showed you 1,000 examples of this message. This is constant messages, and we've been seeing this since we started following the PA. The people are brought up on this message. The kids are brought up. The adults. They've all heard this 1,000 times. Everyone in the world suffers from the Jews. Now, this is a quote that I just saw recently from a book called Hostage by Eli Sharabi. He was 491 days hostage of Hamas. He was released February 2025. And this is one of the things that I found in the book that I felt so fascinating because it fit in exactly what I've been teaching about Palestinian Authority ideology. He said, in our interactions with the terrorists, he was describing all the conversations everything he learned about them, is that I began to understand the depths of his ignorance and how badly he had been brainwashed. They are absolutely certain that Israelis only want to kill them and dream of doing evil. In other words, the Hamas terrorists are doing this to them because they are certain that Israelis want to kill them. Now, if Israelis want to kill them and then you fight them or you put them in and take them as hostages and you kill them and murder them, that's virtuous because you're just doing it as self-defense. This is what Eli Sharabi saw, and this is what we're seeing in the messaging. So we see what they teach their people, and Eli Sharabi is describing the results of it, that all these Hamas terrorists are absolutely certain Israelis want to kill them. And that's the message that comes from that he witnessed and he observed. Now, so these are the two problems. Israel, colonial implant, there's no right to exist. Jews endanger all humanity. What are the solutions to these two problems that the Palestinian Authority presents? So the first one I'll give you is the problem for Israel. Because it's a colonial implant with no legitimacy, it will disappear. And this also, I could give you dozens of examples. I want to give you just a couple. This is from Fatah's educational magazine for children. This is how they describe Israel. So first of all, in addition to saying that the Jews don't have a history in the land and denying the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judea. By the way, if you're not familiar, there have been hundreds and hundreds of coins from those periods, but the kingdom of Israel is mentioned as well as the names of the kings numerous times in the archaeological finds of the Assyrian nation, of the nations around them. It mentions how they fought the Jewish people, the kingdom of Israel. So there's no doubt historically, what they tell their people is that Israel makes up these archaeological finds. That's not even the ones in Israel. We're talking about all the neighboring countries that talk about fighting Israel. They don't care about that. But in any case, they completely ignore history. They say the Jews never had history in the land. Who did have a history? They invent this 3,000 or 5,000 year Palestinian history. And then they teach as follows. The Canaanite Arabs, they say that the Canaanites were Palestinians, settled the land of Palestine. And listen to this. Palestine underwent dozens of invasions. The Babylonians, the Persians, the Samaritans, the Assyrians, the Hittites, the Pharaohs, and the Hebrews. Now, the irony here, of course, is that Israel was invaded by the temple was destroyed by the Babylonians. It was conquered by the Persians, and then they actually helped rebuild the temple. Samaritans, they also fought. The Assyrians defeated the north. All of these were the enemies of Israel, and there's the historical record. But what they do is they put the Hebrews as another. So their world teaching is that there was this Palestinian Canaanite nation, and they were invaded by all the people. In other words, Jewish history is erased. They take Jewish history, they cross out the word Jewish, and then they write in the word Palestinian. And then all of our history becomes their history. This is the message to the people. And then they continue. 100 years ago, the British invaded it again. Palestine, and their invasion was the most dangerous. They deliberately arrived to give our land to the Jews. In the end, Palestinian fell under the Zionist occupation, which continues today. And this is so important, the word occupation. When Palestinians travel to European capitals, they always say, we're only against the occupation. That's all we care about. To their own people. And then they intimate or they say that they're talking about Israel's existence in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. To their own people, Palestine fell under the Zionist occupation from the British. This is 1948. This is Israel's creation. In their own language, all of Israel is an occupation. It's explicit. It's in their children's books. It's their children's magazines. It's the way they talk about Israel. They refer to Israel often. They don't even say Israel. They say the occupation state. It's all about not having the right to exist and being occupied. And it continues today. And then they end. The occupation will cease to exist, meaning Israel will cease to exist, just as what before it ceased to exist. All the invaders were defeated and Palestine returned to be free and Arab. In other words, what they're claiming is that the Palestinians, they say this in other places explicitly, the Palestinians in the end defeated the Babylonians, the Persians, the Sumerians, they defeated everyone. All the invaders were defeated and Palestine returned to be free and Arab, and this will happen again. Israel will be defeated, Israel will disappear, and just like the Babylonians and Persians are gone, so too Israel will be gone. This is Palestinian Authority education of the children. Now, they do this in visuals. We see, it's probably not a day, and I mean this literally, a day that goes by without seeing this map in some place in the Palestinian world, the official world. On schools, we follow their school activities every day through their Facebook, what they're doing. We see this everywhere. This is from their educational magazine, where they even write in English, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. No problem to write. This is what they're about. Sometimes they make it like this. This is from a girls' Facebook page, a girls' school. They put the Palestinian flag. And of course, this map that you're seeing here, this map includes all of Israel. This is northern Israel. This is a lot southern Israel. Here's the Gaza Strip. Here's Judea and Samaria, what they call the West Bank. This is all of Israel under the Palestine flag. That's their message. And here you see it actually destroying Israel. The Israeli flag is being destroyed by Palestine. This is the message to their people. And then just a couple of months ago on Palestinian TV, official TV, this is what they talk about Israel's disappearance.
ولكن هذه الأرض لا تتسع لهويتين، إما نحن أو نحن الباقون وهم العابرون.
Okay. No room for two identities. We will remain, they will pass, they will disappear. That is the message from the Palestinians. Here's said very straightforward by a Palestinian Authority news. Now, that's the solution for Israel. It's predestined. Israel will be destroyed. Israel, because they have no right to exist, because they talk often about Israel like the South African apartheid regime. Israel will disappear like South Africa. That's their message. And Palestine will be for the Palestinians. Jews are going to be gone. In fact, there have been times where they actually said explicitly there won't be a Jew left in Palestine. Now, that's Israel. What about the Jews? The Jews endanger all of humanity, and therefore the only solution, the Jewish problem, is extermination. And I want to show you this. How is it solved? This is a Sharia judge on Palestinian Authority TV. Strike the aggressive Jews, count them, kill them one by one, do not leave even one. Now, you could just say it one time. I want to show you how often this comes. This is a constant message that we've been hearing for a number of years now. These are the times that we've documented. 2000, starting from 2024 through 2025, through 2026, and the most recent time was just literally a little over 2 weeks ago, May 22nd. We heard it again. Count them one by one, kill them one by one, do not leave even one. This is a constant message. This is a constant message from the Palestinian Authority that the world is suffering from the Jews. Therefore, Allah is going to bring a solution and save humanity by getting rid of the Jews. So we hear that the Jews also is connected to Satan. So it all comes together. Get rid of Satan. That's going to be the best thing for humanity to resolve all its problems. Now, I'm going to show you a little more about October 7th later, but I want to show you how this fits in with the religious ideology of the Jews being exterminated. There's a source in Islam. It's called the Hadith. Hadith is Islamic tradition attributed to Muhammad. It has the same status almost as the Quran. It's considered to be Islamic law like the Quran. Now, there's a Hadith that appears in a number of different books. It's seen as a very authentic Hadith. It's quoted many times by the Palestinian Authority. I want to show you, though, one time that it was just shocking that they quoted it. Now, first of all, what does the Hadith say? It says, the hour of resurrection will not come until Muslims fight the Jews, kill them. Jews will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rock and the tree will say, Muslim servant of Allah. There's a Jew behind me, come and kill him. So this Hadith attributed to Muhammad says, at the end of time, near the hour of resurrection, the Jews are going to hide behind rocks and trees, and the Muslims are going to kill them. Now, this is terrible. It's horrific because it's saying that the redemption of humanity is contingent on the extermination of Jews. Final Jews are going to hide, and even nature is going to turn against the Jews. The rocks and the trees, everything's going to gang up on the Jews and free humanity of the Jewish problem. Now, what you see here on the left of the page, on the left of the screen, this is the weekly instruction sheet from the Palestinian Authority official Ministry of Religion. It has their stamp over here. It has their logo over here. And every Thursday or Friday, the Ministry of Religion publishes the talking points for all the sermons in the Palestinian Authority. They all have to follow the same messages, and it appears on the Palestinian Authority Ministry of Religion website. Now, look what they published on October 18th, 2023. October 18th, 2023, in other words, 2 weeks after October 7th, when Jews were hiding behind rocks and trees. Everybody saw the pictures, the Jews hiding at the Nova Festival. That's what this picture is from over here, October 7th. Many of them were massacred when they were hiding in the bushes behind rocks and trees. And then they wanted that to be one of the things that taught. teach that Jews are going to hide behind. This is what they taught them 2 weeks later. That this is what. So in other words, what they were saying was what happened on October 7th wasn't just Hamas. This was Islamic prophecy. Islamic prophecy being fulfilled. The end of time is near. Jews are hiding behind rocks and trees, and we massacred them. That's what this is. That's the purpose of this teaching. Just 2 weeks after in the Palestinian Authority. So that's what we're dealing with in terms of a religious ideology in the PA. And the top religious figure on TV, April 29th, just a couple of months ago, because of all of this, listen to what he says about the legality of what happened on October 7th. I won't play it because he speaks very slowly, but I'll just read it to you. When we come to judge October 7th, resistance to the occupation, remember that means Israel, the occupation, is in itself is legal, even sacred. You'll not find any Palestinian Muslim or any normal person who can dispute this. When looking at October 7th, resistance to the occupation is legal. He says it again. When we're looking at then he talks about the consequences. But October 7th was legal. This is the message from the top religious figure. There has never been from anyone in the Palestinian Authority a condemnation. There have been celebration. There's been justification. There's been everything around it. And even Mahmoud Abbas talked about how important it was, important messages. No one has condemned it in the Palestinian Authority. And it's not just Hamas. In other words, this was done by Hamas, but the entire Palestinian population supported it. And I'll show you that. Now, again, why is this so important, these religious messages? This is a poll results. 95.6% of Palestinians consider religion an important part of their lives. So that could be fine if their religion was telling them to live in peace with their neighbors, as some religions do. But because their religious leaders are telling them in the name of religion that Israel is Satan, Jews have no right to exist. When Jews are killed, it's fulfillment of Islam. This is massively, massively dangerous because it's not just anyone then who goes out. By the way, this message, kill them one by one, I think is so critical. I think, why are they saying kill them one by one? The terrorist thinks, okay, how am I going to help Allah by just killing one Jew? I might get killed. I might end up in jail. So they say, don't worry. Count them one by one, kill them one by one, don't leave even one. If you kill even one, you're doing a service for Allah. That's the message coming from the PA. And like I showed you, it's a repeating message from religious leaders. And this is, like I said, a religion that's very important for Palestinians. Now, because of this, so you have this is the first half of the story. The first half of the story is Jews are evil. They want to kill Palestinians. If you fight them, if you kill them, it's virtuous and it's what Allah wants you to do. Because of this, Palestinian murderers are the most honored and virtuous people in Palestinian society. I wanted to show you some examples of this. Now, you know that Israel had to release about 2,000 terrorists in order to get all of our hostages home. And not just 2,000 terrorists, but many of them were horrific murderers. Some of them had killed dozens, were serving dozens of life sentences. And the very worst murderers, Israel decided that we wouldn't allow to go back to Judea and Samaria. You wouldn't even allow them in Gaza. They had to be expelled and they were sent to Egypt. Now, I want to show you. So we're talking about the worst murderers went to Egypt 2 days after they were expelled to Egypt. Mahmoud Abbas, head of the PA, sent his personal emissary with a special message to those people. They had a big gathering of all the murderers together, and listen to the message from Mahmoud Abbas. Okay, we'll fight for you. Blessed are you for your freedom, heroes. Special message from Abbas to the heroes. So heroes are the people who killed the most number of Israelis in Palestinian ideology. Why? Because it's virtuous, because this is the right thing to do. It's moral. Therefore, Mahmoud Abbas sends greetings even to these terrible murders. I want to show you two shocking examples also. Two of the murderers who are released, the murderers who are released are being interviewed regularly on Palestinian television. I want to give you an example of one of them. Of two of them who are being interviewed here. Listen to the way he talks about them on official Palestinian TV.
سيكون ضيفينا
This person is talking about murdered 5 people. He says, our 2 guests will be our dear brother Khalil Abu Amram, killed 5 people.
الأخ العزيز خليل أبو عرام أبو جهاد، أخونا خليل أبو عرام اللي كان محكوم 7 مؤبدات.
By the way, he said he's serving 7 life sentences. I'm sorry, I just got stuck.
سيكون ضيفينا محكوم 7 مؤبدات.
This is who he killed. He murdered a couple and their son, Yaakov Yosef and Hannah Dickstein. Those are the people he murdered. So they don't even care. This is a guy who murdered a family, destroyed a family, and left all the other children. I think there were 5 other children, left them all as orphans. He is the one who's being interviewed, and he's being said on the screen that you are a badge of honor. Now, I just put this here. He didn't put this in. I fit this in it, so you'll know what he's talking about. This is the terrorist.
سنراكم دائما.
We will always view you as a badge of honor on the Palestinian chest. You killed a couple and the child, you're a badge of honor. This is official Palestinian TV just a couple of months ago, interviewing part of their interviews. Here's another example that's absolutely shocking, particularly since it's so long. Look how long and how continuously they continue to honor murderers. What you're seeing here is Rachel Weiss. She was murdered together with her 3 sons. They were on a bus. Terrorists threw a Molotov cocktail on the bus. Fire broke out. She was killed. The 3 infants, a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 9-month-old, were all killed. David De La Rosa was a soldier nearby. He ran on the bus and tried to pull them out, and he died also from the bus. So 5 people were murdered, a mother and her 3 sons. Now, they were killed by a person named Juma Adam. I want to show you what happens to Juma Adam. Judah Adam, this is October 27th, 2025. This terror attack happened in 1988. He's still in prison since 1988. Israel, because he killed a mother and the 3 children, Israel has refused to let him out in all of the exchange deals that we've had. So they made a special thing for him on TV. They gave him a special plaque, gratitude and appreciation, presented by the Palestinian Prisoners Club to the family of the fighter prisoner Juma Ibrahim. So a killing of a mother and her 3 children turns him into a fighter. And they have gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude and appreciation from the Palestinian Authority official messages. Now, look at the date here. This is October 27th, 2025. That wasn't enough. April 20th, 2026, they honored him again, just a few months later. They have his picture. They had a whole item on TV about him. Can't see it here because this, but it says here, Mandela of Palestine. This is his picture. He is the Mandela of Palestine. He's supposed to be a freedom fighter. Mandela was a freedom fighter. He was the freedom fighter. He was a murderer of a mother and her 2 children. But this is the 3 children. This is Palestinian Authority. And they said these visits express a national and moral commitment to the prisoners. This is what PATV says about visiting the home of this disgusting murderer. Now, in addition to these visits and these honoring on TV, there are many permanent things that are established. Schools, streets, monuments, all of these are named after the murderers. I'll give you one example amongst the constant messaging. Palestinian Authority has named 31 schools after Dalal Mughrabi, who was she hijacked a bus, murdered 25 with other terrorists. She murdered 12 children and 25 adults. Until October 7th, it was the worst terror attack in Israel's history. These are the pictures of the children. Some of them were from the same family. Here are 2 brothers, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. The mother was also killed. The father survived, lost his legs from a hand grenade that blew his legs off. So this was the Hoffman family. So this is the person who the Palestinian Authority, the murder of these children, that's who the Palestinian Authority decided to name 5 schools after. I could tell you about 100 other things named after her, but I'm not going to, but just the schools named after her. Now, go back to October 7th. I want to show you how they celebrate. I showed you before how they justified it. I want to show you how they celebrated. Here is a statement from Jibril Rajoub. Jibril Rajoub is one of the most important Palestinians officials. He's the Fatah Central Committee Secretary. He's also the head of their sports authority. He's the representative to FIFA. He's the representative to the Olympics. And what he said in November of 2023, by then everybody knew about the rapes, everybody knew about the massacres. And what does he say? What happened on October 7th was an earthquake full of epics and acts of heroism, murdering families together, massacring them, raping women in front of their husbands and children. This is epics and heroism, according to the Palestinian Authority. It's just, again, from a top figure on Palestinian Authority, Jibril Rajoub. Now, to show you what they did in the schools. Schools have been celebrating this as well. And I'll just give you one example. We're about to come out with a major report. In fact, I'm going to be adding this material to the report that I sent you yesterday. That's the presentation that I'm giving, more or less similar to this, but a little different structure that I give to the members of parliament. But this is a school assembly. We've already documented 4 school assemblies and many, many other school activities celebrating October 7th. Listen to what they had this girl read about how children are feeling, or how she was feeling about October 7th. This is on October 12th. 5 days later, by then, everybody, they were all watching the live streams from Hamas. They knew what happened. Listen to the way she describes October 7th. Look at the words that they took. Sounds of laughter, beautiful dream, such pride, that the sense of honor was indescribable. And in addition, look what she said: the people who resist return to their land. This is what I was telling you before. Palestinian children are taught that all of Israel is their land. And the people who resist, meaning commit terror, they return to their land. This was the beautiful dream that they never wanted to wake up from. This is Palestinian Authority Ministry of Education. Like I said, we have many assemblies like this that are going to be described in this report that we released. Just one item that we just found that we haven't even told the press about. I'll just tell you, we're going to release it probably on Sunday or Monday next week. We just found that a teacher decided to use October 7th for teaching math. Yes, literally. And she had them do equations. They had to write verbal equations, and then they publicized these things on their Facebook page. So we have all the documentation, we have all the pictures. One of the questions that one of the children wrote, that she gave her stamp and called them excellent. He wrote, if 150 Jews or Israelis, I think he said Israel, 150 Israelis were killed in one town, how many Israelis were killed in 9 towns? They had to write problems with 150 times 9. They had verbal problems. So that was his question. If 150 are killed in 1, how many are killed in 9? And then he gave the answer. And she writes to him, excellent, you're a champion. Another one had, if 150 missiles are shot into one city by Hamas, how many are fired by 9 into 9 cities? And then they had another one, if Israel killed 150 children in 1 day, and they became martyrs, how many martyrs would there be in 9 days? So these are the questions. And you know what grade this is? This is 3rd graders. So we're talking about little kids, and on each of them, they all got stars, they all got emojis, happy things and smileys, because of these great answers that they did. So like I said, this we're going to be releasing this week, and it's something if you follow, you should be following our website and get our emails, something that you should then pass on to your own press and say, look at what Palestinian schools are teaching. Look what they're using math to teach. Now, this picture, as far as I'm concerned, this depicts exactly what happened for the Palestinians on October 7th. The Palestinian booth, these are, of course, the colors of the Palestinian flag. Jews are the rat, and they're being smashed. Israel is the rat, and it's being smashed by the Palestinian booth. This is why they're so proud, because look what we accomplished. Now, in addition to glorifying and honoring, the Palestinian Authority also rewards, and this is one of the most important things that we, Palestinian Media Watch, discovered. And we not discovered this, the world probably still wouldn't know this. We discovered this back in 2011, and then started traveling to parliaments around the world and telling the members of parliament. They were shocked. Over the years, 4 different countries cut off all funding to the PA. Unfortunately, governments changed. The 4 countries were Canada, the United States, Australia, and the Netherlands. The Netherlands was unbelievable. 2 weeks after I spoke there in Parliament, they voted 96 to 54 to cut off all funding to the PA, the Parliament vote. So that there's tremendous response to this paper slate. But like I said, the governments change, and they change the laws again, and then they start funding again. So right now, in part because of October 7th, and that's what's so insane. All these countries are funding the Palestinian Authority even more, even though, as I said before, the PA is the source of all the hatred of Israel, because this is what they're teaching. In any case, they reward them. If a terrorist, the longer you can see here, this is a chart that we created. It's based on the Palestinian Authority chart. The longer a Palestinian is in jail, the more money they get per month. Today, they are getting approximately $4,000 a month. Those who've been in jail for 30 years. For each wife, they get a few more, and for each child, a little bit more. If they're an Israeli resident, they get an extra 500 shekel a month. In other words, the Palestinian Authority is especially encouraging Israeli Arabs to be terrorists because they even get more. And why is that? Because of course it's an advantage. It's easy. Palestinians have to go through roadblocks to get into Israel. They have to go, whereas Israeli Arabs just have to walk across the street, get in the car, and they can drive everywhere. So Israeli residents get an extra 500 shekel a month. This is all from the Palestinian Authority as rewards for terror. Now, earlier this year, I'm not going to go into details of this, but you could find it on our website. It's a very important report we came out. We showed that in 2025, we came out with this in January. In 2025, PA spent $315 million on terrorists who they had hidden from the Western world. They told the Western world that they were stopping to pay terrorists already last September 2025, and we showed that they're continuing literally until today. We found that last year it was $315 million. When I say it's continuing today, again, a very important video that we caught. Mahmoud Abbas was speaking just a couple of weeks ago at the Fatah eighth conventions. They had these conferences every 3 or 4 or 5 years. This was their 8th conference, and he was speaking at the conference. He was complaining that Israel was withholding tax money because the PA pays terrorists. And then he looked up from his written text. They're withholding this money. We can't manage. No country can manage. He says, we need the money to pay our workers and to pay the salaries of prisoners. Said it just like that. And of course, this is coming half a year after he claimed that they weren't paying the prisoners anymore. So we had it black and white. We sent it out right away. The Israeli Foreign Ministry and others, as well as the United States, everybody bounced it and said, here, you've been lying to us. The only problem are some of those Western European countries like France, for example, and Britain, who've all conditioned their recognition of the PA on their reform, including not paying salaries to terrorists. We haven't heard from them, even though the information is black and white. So this is I'm not going to go into the details of the report, but you should all read it. It's a very, very important point. Now, final thing before I show you some polls, I want to show you is the idea of Shahada, dying for Allah. What is this? This is one of the most important parts of Palestinian ideology and teaching to their children and to their adults. Now, what is this all about? The best, or I would say the strongest deterrence against terrorism is the fear of the terrorist that he's going to be killed or go to jail. So they reward them if they go to jail. They give them a lot of money. But if they're killed, there's no rewards. So what are the Palestinians? So, by the way, if they're killed, the family gets a reward. If they get arrested, they get a reward. If they're killed, the family gets a reward for life. 1,400 shekel for life, which we're talking about more than $300 a month for life. $400 a month, just about close to $400 a month, more than $400 a month. The exchange rate keeps changing. That's why I'm in trouble with this, but it's more than $400 a month for life if a son or a husband was a terrorist or a parent. The child gets it for life. So this is something that, now, in addition, though, they teach the person, the terrorists who are going out, that if they die for Allah, it's better than living. That dying for Allah is better than living. And I want to show you this in their own words here. This is an aunt of a terrorist, and she's being interviewed on TV. And I want you to listen to the words she said. She says, Allah granted him martyrdom. In other words, if he dies, it's something that Allah gave him. If he dies fighting Israel, Allah granted him. He received the most beautiful thing in the world. Allah chose him as a martyr. Now, you've all heard the stories of the martyr getting 72 virgins in paradise and rewarding, and people think it's a joke. It's not a joke. It's very serious. They mention it all the time. They promise it all the time. And I'm going to show you this next slide. And that's because they were chosen by Allah. Allah chose him as a martyr. I want to show you this next one. The mother was interviewed on TV, and she said about her son, "Praise Allah, Karim Salam, her son, asked for martyrdom and he received it. He wanted to die. He is the most handsome groom in the world, the most handsome groom in paradise." The mother talking about her son, she's imagining him at his wedding. She's imagining him literally at his wedding, and she's calling him the most beautiful groom. Now, it's promoted actively by the Palestinian Authority through its TV. Here's a funeral of a terrorist on TV, and listen to the song that Palestinian Authority TV played in the background. Okay. Terrorist is a groom who delights in martyrdom. It's a handsome groom in a wedding procession. And I want you to notice, I'm going to play it for 2 more seconds. Listen to the music. It's not sad music, it's happy music. Literally celebration music. Wedding music for a funeral because he is going on a wedding procession. This is official Palestinian Authority. It's not a joke. They really believe this, and they tell this to the people. Children are also pushed into martyrdom, and I want to show you the input and the output. I'll show you an example of one of the messages. We've seen hundreds of messages directly to children as well. We have on our website. You can see a whole video collection in one string of encouraging children. But I want you to hear this one in particular. This was particular.
أقبلت أمه بطلة بهية تحمل الهدية نظر إليها فإذا بها بندقية صاح بأعلى صوته يا أمي يا أمي ما هذه أهذه هي الهدية ضمته إليها واحتضنته بيديها وقالت يا بني لم نخلق للسعادة فأنت في نظري مشروع للشهادة فالقدس لنا وسلاحنا إسلامنا وذخيرتنا.
Our ammunition is our children. You are destined to martyrdom. And this is supposedly a mother talking to her child. This is a poem that this girl wrote, and Fatah thought it was such a nice poem, they decided to put it on their Facebook page for all children. Children are ammunition. So that's what this girl grew up with, this message. This is a poem that she wrote, and this is what Fatah felt was important to put on TV. Children are ammunition for Islam. Our weapon is Islam, and our ammunition is our children. You are destined for martyrdom. This is the message of the Palestinian Authority to its children. Now, again, hundreds of examples like this going on for years. I want to show you the results. The result says children literally have been competing with each other to be the one who's going to be a martyr. We have parents saying this. The children are fighting for this. Now, look at this. This is in the official newspaper. There's a mother holding up a picture of her 16-year-old son. Now, listen to what she says here. The newspaper says, her son patted her shoulder and said to her, soon, Yusuf. Yusuf means mother of Yusuf. His name is Yusuf. Soon, my mother of Yusuf, get ready to receive those congratulating you over my death as a martyr. So this 16-year-old knew that he was going out and wanted to be a martyr, a 16-year-old. And then the mother's quotes is saying his only wish was to be accompanied to his wedding as a martyr. 16-year-old. Result of the intense brainwashing. And this is the mother talking about this. Again, we're not saying this. The mother is saying, he said, people are going to congratulate you. In other words, you go to a parent whose child is having a wedding and you say, congratulations. And he tells her, people are going to congratulate you on my death as a martyr. This is a 16-year-old. Now, in addition, some children don't just tell their parents, they actually leave them letters. We have a lot of different farewell letters that are written by Palestinian children. I want to show you one of them. The boy wrote, a 14-year-old boy. This was the hand letter. It was posted on Facebook after he died. This is the text here. Allah has realized my dream for me, which is martyrdom for Allah. When I come to you as a martyr, my mother makes sounds of joy and do not cry. Do not be sad, O Father. I wished for martyrdom and I achieved. Again, this idea of wishing for it and it being an achievement, this is something that goes now. Look what Palestinian Authority did. Palestinian Authority showed his funeral on TV. Listen to what they said during the funeral.
نشاهد في هذا الفيديو هذا التشييع المهيب للطفل عمر الخمور 14 عاما.
Okay, accompany me to paradise, eternity, decorate me with roses, my mother. This is the most beautiful time. The most beautiful time. Death of a 14-year-old is the most beautiful time. That's what Palestinian Authority messages. That's what the child himself wanted to die. He left this message, but PATV, instead of telling kids, listen, why are you going and killing yourself? No, they're turning it upside down. This is the most beautiful time because a 14-year-old went out and achieved the martyrdom that he wanted. And like on this also, I can show you dozens and dozens of examples of them celebrating the deaths of Palestinian children. Now, all of this, I want to just end with some polls to show you what Palestinians think and believe and why is it so important. This is a poll done by the most important pollster, Shkaki, Khalil Shkaki. He did this, he asked Palestinians the same question from December 2023 through October 2023. And the question was, in your view, was Hamas' decision to launch its offensive against Israel on October 7th a correct or incorrect decision? Was it a correct or incorrect decision? That's an important question. Now, I'm just going to show you what they call the West Bank. I'm not going to show you Gaza because I don't know how they question people in Gaza. Also, Gaza was in the middle of a war. I'm going to show you the West Bank because the West Bank is supposed to be the moderates. This is where Mahmoud Abbas rules. This is Fatah. This is not under Hamas rule. Look at the West Bank. So December 23rd, 2 months after October 7th, 82% of Palestinians said it was the right thing to do. Now, again, by this point, everybody knew about the massacres, the deaths of whole families, the rapes. Everybody knew. And 82% said it was the right thing to do. Now, as time went on, the numbers dropped, but not very much. 71%, 73%, 64, 59. Now, October 25th, 2025, according to Palestinian Authority official sources, and this probably wasn't true, but this is what Palestinians believe. By now, 70,000 people had been killed, according to the PA. 70,000 people. And then Palestinians know this. And every day, more and more people are dying. And there's no ceasefire yet in October 2025. The war is going on. Palestinians are asked, was it a correct decision to attack on October 7th? And 59% still say it was a correct decision. And this is the most shocking. Because even if they supported the massacre of Jews, was it worth 70,000 deaths? And the answer is yes, according to 60% of Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, in the West Bank. Yes, it was worth it. It was a correct decision. That one day of, as the girl said, honor, pride, a dream that we never wanted to end. That one day made 70,000 deaths worth it, according to the Palestinian Authority population, according to 60%, 2/3 of the population. So this is shocking. I'll show you one more poll, which is even higher. This was done November 2023, November 14th. This is about a month and a week after. So at this point, there hadn't been a lot of death yet in Gaza. Israel had just started its counteroffensive against Hamas. So Palestinians were asked, considering the events, do you feel a sense of pride as a Palestinian? Now, look at this. This is to a great extent. West Bank here, 94% said they felt pride to a great extent, and 4% said to some extent, meaning 98% of Palestinians were proud of what happened October 7th. In other words, they had done the unthinkable to Israel, and 98%. And that's what I started. Remember, I said in the beginning, how do you turn good people and how do you turn a whole society into terror supporters? Well, we have a whole society. We have an entire Palestinian society that is proud of being able to do the worst pogrom to the Jewish people since the Holocaust. That was the last slide. This is anyone who won. I had one more slide, but I can skip it. This is if anyone wants to write to me or for my email address, anyone wants information or whatever, you already have it, but I'm just giving it so you can have it again. And now I will stop the sharing. We can open up to some questions.